I've just entered the national park from the Gatlinburg side, and I'm headed to the Elkmont campground to get on the Jakes Creek Trail and hike up to Miry Ridge and hit the Appalachian Trail there and turn around. Should be a lot of elevation gain on this hike. Pretty challenging. Not much traffic today, as you can see. I've entered the Elkmont campground entrance and getting ready to do some hiking here. A couple of wild turkeys talking to me. Wow, they are so colorful. As I've entered Elkmont campground to go to the Jakes Creek Trail, I've run across some of the houses in the area that used to be occupied by people back in the day. It looks like one of them in the distance there is being restored. Kind of a historic area where people once lived. Alright, I've parked my car and I'm walking up to the trailhead. And this is where it begins. So just seconds after I've started up the trail here, I've come to what looks like the remnants of a house that was once here. It's like an old fireplace. Down below, I guess that would be Jakes Creek. And it looks like there's actually the remnants of another house just yards away. Here's one of the houses that is still standing. Chimney from another house. Makes me wonder about the memories in these woods that are hidden away, the stories the families may have told each other around the fireplace as they huddled during the winter. Surrounded by all this silence out here. Just the sounds of nature. It's kind of partially paved at this beginning part anyway, but I'm passing chimney after chimney of houses that were here a long time ago, and that all that remains are the chimneys, maybe a little bit of the foundations, anything that's made out of stone might still be here. Looks like a lot of the stone is gone too. quite interesting. It makes me think about the families that maybe enjoyed these fireplaces at one point in time, long ago. Walking along a ridge here with a creek down below, or a little river stream. Come up on the Jake's Creek Trail sign and we keep on going. So round trip, I think this is going to be about somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 17 miles. I looked it up, but then I've kind of forgotten. But I know going to the turnaround point at the Appalachian Trail, it's going to be mostly uphill. I think there's about 3,500 feet of elevation gain. We'll find out at the end because I'm tracking it. But I'm going uphill and it's pretty smooth so far. I'm hiking pretty fast actually. So I'm glad it's smooth here, but I think we'll get on to some real trail here in just a little bit. I'm about a mile in so far, and it's so nice out here. It sounds like it's raining, but it's not actually raining. I can't see it, but there is a river beside the trail down below me. I might be able to see it a little bit through the trees, but it literally sounds like it's a steady rain. Looks like we're on the right track for Jake's Gap. It's the intersection of the Cucumber Gap Trail, which leads to the little river trail if we were to take this side trail here. So we're going to be continuing on this way. Get to go downhill a little bit. I've been walking uphill for quite a bit. Lots of sounds of birds this morning. It's so pretty. So the temperature today is in the mid-50s. Going through a shady area here. It's probably in the lower 50s here. Just right for hiking though. I think today is supposed to be in the high 70s. I don't know if it'll get that high here in the shade. Can't really see much of the sun peeking through, maybe just a little bit in the distance. It's also a cloudy day, so this makes for perfect hiking. Wow, incredible tall boulder here beside the trail. So the trail has kind of changed into a single track trail. Coming up on our first bridge crossing. So about a mile and a half in, of course, we've gotten off that Jeep section, or what looked like an old road for Jeeps. Now we're actually on some pretty rocky and rooty trail. So the higher I get in elevation, I've noticed A lot more wildflowers. I'm about 2 miles into the hike so far. These little white and lavender beauties are all along the trail now. So I can hear water all around me. Looking at this trail here, looks like it washes out here sometimes. It's dry right now, but there's this log here that's been placed here to make the water run off into the stream down below so that it won't wash out the entire trail. Our first creek crossing. Only got a little bit wet on my left foot. Slippery. Coming across another creek crossing. Maybe I can make it without getting my feet wet. I think I got exactly 4 drops of water on my ankle. It is so peaceful up here. I was just thinking, I've had this trail all to myself the whole morning. So all these flower petals are in the trail at this section. And I can smell them. They smell very fragrant. It's almost like somebody's wedding. There's so many of them. All right, I'm about 3.75 miles into the hike. I'm coming up on a sign. And that's pretty accurate. So there's a trail we could take here if we wanted to go to Tremont Road or the Middle Prong Trail that way. But we're going to be going to the Appalachian Trail and then turning around, which is 5 more miles, and onto the Miry Ridge Trail we go. At the beginning here, treated to more of those tiny little petals of flowers right in the trail. So I'm about 1/3 of a mile onto the Miry Ridge Trail. It's definitely a ridge. There's a ever so slight breeze, which feels so good after all that climbing. I'm still climbing, but not as steep at this moment. The trail has become really rooty. Looks like I've come up on some bear scat. Haven't seen any bears or even heard any bears so far. So on the Miry Ridge section, I'm about a mile, maybe a mile and a quarter in. I'm at a point where you, during the winter, could probably see a view of the mountain range. You can barely see it through the thick foliage. And the sun is definitely beaming down on me now a little bit. Still lots of shade. There's a gentle breeze, which is very nice. So now I'm going through a tunnel of some kind of rhododendron, I think, or mountain laurel maybe. I think it's rhododendron. It's a lot cooler in the tunnel. So I've reached a point in the hike where I can actually see the mountain range now. Actually, the trail is down below me a little bit. I had to climb up on some rocks. It's interesting, there's these flowers or moss that look like cauliflower. Walk a little bit further down here. So now I'm on a section of the trail where we're losing some elevation. It's kind of nice to be going downhill for a little bit. Going through some sections where the trail's actually overgrown a little bit. More bear scat. Quite windy through here. All right, I'm coming up on another sign, and looks like we got 2.5 miles to go to the turnaround point. This intersection looks like goes to the Lynn Camp Prong Trail and to campsite number 28. So off we go. So I've come to a section on the Miry Ridge Trail where there's wildflowers, like a big grove of them, and they all seem to be the same type of flower. I don't know what this flower is called, but that's what they look like up close. There's also some other tiny little flowers. I don't know what those are. I'm not a botanist. But this section is really neat because of that. So one thing you notice on these hikes where the elevation changes quite a bit, the ecosystem is cool, shady sections where there's not a lot of wind, and then other sections where other plants thrive, like the long green grasses I've passed through a couple of times. They seem to thrive in the areas where there's a lot of wind, more sunlight, and I don't know what else. But I'm starting to notice other plants too, which I cannot name, unfortunately, that are the same way. It's just a really cool thing to see. Another section on the trail with wildflowers, and they're all up through this hill here. Walking through another little grove of wildflowers. I see some footprints. I'm not sure what they are, but they've got claws, whatever they are. Probably a bear. about half a mile from the Appalachian Trail. I've gone about 8.2 or 3 miles. I think this has been one of my favorite hikes that I've been on recently. Maybe even one of my top 10 or so of all time. Really enjoying this ridge right now. It's so windy up here. Temperature has dropped quite a bit out here in the open. I think it feels like it's in the high 50s. However, it might be cooler. I've been hiking at a pretty brisk pace, so it's probably cooler than it actually feels to me right now with my heart pumping. All right, I'm coming up on a sign. Aha, made it to the Appalachian Trail. 8.7 miles from the start. About 3 hours and 53 minutes of hiking. I did stop some on the way to take pictures and videos and have a snack. So if I were to continue this way, I'd get to the Derrick Knob shelter in 2.7 miles. Or this way, 7.4 miles to Clingman's Dome. However, I'm going to turn back around and go back down the way I came because that's where I parked. All right, headed back down to where we started. And I think going down, I am going to do some trail running. It's about 3 hours and 53 minutes to the top, and we'll see how long it takes to go down. So just running along here, I'm passing through that area I was at where the pretty green grass is on the sides of the trail. And the wind is blowing just a little bit. It's so much easier going downhill than it is uphill. I've covered about a half a mile so far. I think I brought enough water with me. I brought 3 17-ounce bottles, and then I've got a 23-ounce bottle left. I didn't plan it like that, but I think this will be just about the right amount of water to get me down to the bottom. I also brought a 400-calorie cookie, which I ate on the way up, chocolate chip protein cookie. And then I've got another protein bar I can eat on the way down. Or I should say another thing to eat on the way down, which happens to be a bar. So here I go the rest of the way. One thing I like about trail running is that it works different muscle groups all throughout your legs and your body and your feet and your ankles, as compared to running on the road where you're doing a repetitive motion on a flat surface. So it's actually, in some ways, more comfortable running on trails than it is the road. The ground, because it's soft, is more forgiving. The street has its advantages though, because there's usually not roots and seldom rocks in the street. So running on the trail, you do get to work your eye to foot coordination. Believe me, I've had my share of falls on the trail. Fortunately, nothing serious. So I run on. Okay, so I've covered about 2.5 miles going back down so far, and definitely picked up the pace running. Hasn't taken very long because the trail is pretty smooth most of the way. So we're making good time, and I still got about 3/4 of my bottle of water. So hopefully this will be enough to get back down. I think I could run back down even if I ran out of water, especially since it's so cool out today. So onward. So far, I've tripped twice, but I haven't fallen yet. Running back down, which is good, because I don't really want to fall. But it made my heart skip a beat both times when I tripped. Once was on a root with my back foot, so I caught myself with my front foot. Take a walking break through this technical section here, but still going good. Okay, I've come to the end of the Miry Ridge Trail on the way back down. Now I'm going to get back on Jake's Creek Trail, another 3.7 miles to the finish line. Alright, I decided to take a little bit of a walking break for a few minutes coming back down, and I think I'm about 2.5 miles to the finish, and I've got that much water left, so that's just enough, I think. I've got water in the car too, so not worried, not concerned. Alright, back on the Jeep Trail section. So it should be just a matter of a short amount of time to finish this out. Alright, about 6 hours and 10 minutes later, I am back where I started. That was a good run down and a good hike up. Oh wow, what a way to spend the day. So thank you for watching.